outlining for Grim yet. Just started.
How's it going?
Yeah. I did first 4 classes. They're probably useless, you know.
That's really close here. What are you doing? Like, just looking at your notes in the book and stuff?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm just going through the book because my notes are like pretty useless for the most part.
Okay, let's get started. So I'll be, my name is Hansi Liu, and feel free to call me Hansi. I will be mediating between the two of you. So please introduce yourselves if you're comfortable with your first name basis.
I'm George.
Okay, George. Okay, and you're
I'm Martha.
Martha. Okay.
We're
nice
neighbors.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
I'm already familiar with George.
Okay, so I'll give you an introduction of this mediation and the process, and so you get a basic idea of how this is going to be like. So my job as your mediator is to help you have all the best possible discussion you can have, and to help you think about ways to solve whatever brought you here today. I'm not anyone's lawyer here, and I will not be taking anyone's side. So I do not present anyone and will not give legal advice. Although I may make some suggestions and give statistical facts to help you go through the mediation. And I have successfully completed several mediation trainings in a program consisting of 40 hours of training, approved by the presiding judge of the law division of Cook County, and I have served as a mediator at least 10 occasions in major civil cases. And I'm here as a completely neutral party. I will not be making any decisions for you. I will do not take any stakes in the outcome. I'm only here to help guide you through a voluntary decision and making process, and maybe we can potentially make an agreement. So right now, I'd like to ask if you have met me and know me or know of me. I will make full disclosure of any relationship that I have with you. So have I ever met me? No? Okay. So this will not impact my ability to remain impartial. And my goal here is to encourage and facilitate both parties to explore areas of common ground and undiscovered shared interests and potentially reach a settlement. Once again, I'm not here to make any decisions on your behalf, but rather facilitate the process. So if you don't have to agree on something you're not comfortable with. So this entire process is voluntary. So this place is a private place, and I will ask one party to make a statement first as to what brought you to the table today, and then the other. So after that, we can have questions and discussions from both parties. And during our discussion, there might be a period that I want to speak privately with each of you to clarify points or issues for my own understanding or to explore settlement options. So during our private discussion, I will keep this whole information confidential and as you wish, and you will need to remind me that which information you want to keep confidential, and at a certain point I may have to ask you to step out of the room. And this whole process, including the private talking and this 3 people talking, and oral and written communication, and other than executive settlement agreements, are confidential. But however, I am by law required to report necessary information to appropriate authorities if there is a threat to prospective crime or serious immediate harm to any person. So and also I'd like to ask a question: do you have the authorities to make a settlement today?
I do.
How about you, Martha?
Yes.
You do too? Okay, great. So before we start, I'd like to set up a few common rules to make this process as smooth as possible. I would like you to be respectful of each other and turn off your cell phones. Do not talk over each other. And here's a mediation agreement. It basically is a brief summary of what I just told you, and I will need you to sign this and go through this and sign this and give it back to me.
Should I put the date down here?
Sure.
Oh, we have to pay you.
Martha. So let's start with you, Martha. What brought you today here, and what would you like to achieve?
Well, George and I have been neighbors for some time.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a very bad year this year. My husband died recently. George has been very nasty to me ever since my husband's death. I don't know why, but all of a sudden he's building a fence on my property. It's really just making my life even worse. All of a sudden I can't see the lake anymore. The fence is blocking it. While he was building the fence, George and his crew were trampling my rose bushes that have a lot of sentimental value for me. Me and my husband planted them. We've been, we worked hard on them for years, and now, just like that, George trampled them.
We were trampling the rose bushes?
Yes, George.
I was completely unaware of that.
Okay, Martha, you can finish first, and I will let you talk.
Okay.
To be honest, I'm not even sure why I'm in this mediation. I thought I was going to court today to get my $3,000 that I think George should pay me.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, and so you're here because George built a fence, and the fence blocked the light, so now you can see it, and also
Yeah, and it's on my property too.
No, it's on your property, and they trampled the rose you grew with your husband, so it have sentimental value. Therefore, you're seeking 3,000 damages
Mm-hmm.
here. Okay, let's hear what brought you here today, George.
Well, Martha brought me here today, basically. I mean, I started building this fence, first of all, which was on my property. I'd like to just clarify that and shout that out for everyone to know the fence is on my property. In terms of the rose bushes, we'll look into that. I had no idea. And so as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I should have the right to build whatever is on my property. And the reason why I want to build this fence, I'm an architect, and I think that the fence would look really great just against this background that I'm planning for this whole elaborate garden, some rose bushes of my own, and several goldfish ponds. And I think it'd be nice to, show potential clients that whole area with the fence that I constructed myself. So, and as I said, it's on my property, so I don't see why I can't be building it.
Okay, George, so let's make a summary of what's your interest. You're saying that you built your fence on your property, and you wasn't aware of those trampled roses that's on Martha's property or on her yard, and also you're building this fence because you're an architect, so you might have potential customers when they see your work on this fence.
It's like a little showroom.
Okay, so here we're gonna set up agenda. We're gonna talk about this fences if we actually cause any inconvenience to Martha, and also we're gonna talk about if these roses were actually trampled or if it's on whose property, and we'll also talk about this money, 3,000 here. So Martha, why don't you talk a little bit more about your relationship with George, since you have been a neighbor for a long time.
Well, our relationship used to be great. George would come over sometimes and help out with things that we needed. I'm old, and now that I don't have my husband, even when I did have my husband, he used to come help and shovel snow or trim trees, but ever since my husband is gone, he's not helping anymore, and he seems like he doesn't want to be a good neighbor, and it kind of makes me sad that.
Can you tell me, what do you think, why after your husband passed away, and then did he suddenly stop offering help?
I don't know, it just seemed like he didn't want to help anymore.
But before that, you were really like a close neighbor, and he was really helping you with all those troubles?
Yeah, he got along well with my husband, but I don't know what happened.
Okay, George, can you please tell me more about this? You used to help Martha with all those troubles, and now you stopped it.
Sure. Well, I mean, really, I came over. I was kind of helping Martha's husband with, doing some like trimming bushes and shoveling snow, good neighborly things. And I mean, honestly, I after he died, I feel like Martha's just been really depressed, and it's been really difficult to deal with her. And she started making like all these demands on my time, like a lot more than before. And I don't have that kind of time. I'm a young architect. I'm trying to, get my business going. And so I just felt that we needed some boundaries. I mean, I'm really sympathetic and everything, and I tried to do that at the beginning, but it got too tough. I mean, she's demanding like too much time on my part.
I think that correct me if I'm wrong. You're saying you were still trying to help Martha, but she's now demanding more than her husband.
Oh yeah, way
Yeah.
more.
Would you elaborate that, please?
Well, I mean, we did some things together before, but afterwards,
What was the kind of request that Martha has made?
just more of the same. I
Okay.
think. But just in a lot greater quantity.
I just noticed that it seems like he has a lot of time to be trampling my rose bushes and building a fence, so I thought maybe he could help me with a couple things.
Okay, so you're saying that Martha, George used to help me with trimming of those roses and bushes, and now he was still doing those. But
No,
Now
he
we're
tramples
stopped
them.
them
I'm
instead.
also-
He used to help take care of them, and now he's killing them and building a fence on my property.
Okay, but so in terms of this demandings, do you have any stories that I should know?
Well, it's just been very hurtful. It's been a very hard year for me. And George, who I thought was a friend of ours, has just made it worse.
So it seems to me that you're not making any outrageous requests, but you're just simply wanting the company of an old good friend.
I think that's fair to say.
Okay. I think it's understandable that because Martha's husband has passed away, Jordan, do you think that all this crisis has troubled you a lot? And if her husband was still alive, would you still be going to her places and visit her?
Oh, well, sure. But the problem is, she's just been like, maybe I'd go over maybe like once a week before when her husband was around and help out. And after he passed away, then she started asking me like all the time. And I don't have that kind of time, like several times a week or more. And she's also just been tough to deal with, just because she's been, depressed.
Can you tell me more about how tough to deal with?
She's just not a fun person to be around anymore.
Do you think that because that her husband's death?
Yeah, no, I'm sure that has something that has probably a lot to do with it.
So-
And I really did try and be sympathetic at the beginning, and I still
Okay.
tried to volunteer a little bit.
Okay.
But then after a while, I just I couldn't do it anymore. It's too tough. And I mean, I'm not obligated to help out. I mean, everyone has their own things to do.
So if you still resume to the frequencies before her husband passed away, you would still be happy to visit Martha, and that would not be a problem to you.
Yeah, that's okay. But every time I go over, she asks me to do something else.
Oh, and Martha, would you have really needs to let him help you with those requests you have made?
Do I want him to help me? Yeah. I just want him to be nice.
Okay, so and you are
That's all
now
I want. That's all I really want.
okay,
And the fence.
and fans.
Once
Okay.
again, that goes too.
So it seems to me that both of you have really valued your relationship, and you would like to resume the relationship that you had before this incident occurred. So when we talk about the incidents, and George, you mentioned that you started building this fence so you can potentially bring more customers.
Mhm.
Were you under like financial stress that you have to do this just to get extra income?
Not really, but it's just something that I've been planning for a while, and I think that it'll help my business grow. So it's really important to me that and like the fence, like they're made of these cedar boards. I made them myself. So I mean, I invested a lot into this already, and the fence is on my property.
And
I'm very certain of that.
Martha,
I am also very certain that it is on my property. I've had a surveyor come to the property and
was
they
this
told me it's on my property.
in George? Do you have any evidence you can suggest that that was actually on your property?
I just know, I think.
You just know.
Yeah. I'm like so sure. Like,
And
I think that's a mistake. I don't think the surveyor did a good job.
so was this fence built on the place where the rosebuds were planted? George?
I don't think so. Because the rose bushes are on her property and the fence is on my property. So they should be a little distance away.
Was there any distance away, Martha?
Well, no. Otherwise, how would the rose bushes have been destroyed? They were destroyed when he was building the fence on my property.
Okay, so since you both agreed that the rosebud was on Martha's property, but now this rose are trampled, and do you think who should be responsible for that, George? As you acknowledge that it grows on her property, and the only reason seems it would be you.
So it was the workers that trampled the rose bushes? I didn't know about this.
But since they're you hired them, you are potentially responsible for their conducts.
Did you see the workers trample the rose bushes? It could have been like a stray deer.
All I know is in the process of building the fence, you managed to trample my rose bushes.
Hmm.
So that's
And their scent reminds me of my husband, which makes it especially traumatic for me.
well, I can look into that and make sure and let the workers know.
Okay, but you also agree that this rose means a lot to Martha, and you also
I
want
understand that, sure.
and you would like also to be careful in the future to prevent this from further happening.
Yes, definitely.
And Martha, you also mentioned that those fences they block the lights, and
Yeah, I had a great view of the lake, but the fence blocks it, which
okay.
is maybe even the main reason I don't like the fence. I just want my view of the lake.
You want a view of lake.
So
And
maybe George could move the fence so I can still see the lake.
so George, could you tell me more about this location of this fence?
Well, it's 75 feet, runs, it's 8 feet tall.
It's 8 feet tall.
Where does Martha want to see the lake from? From her house or her porch or?
Yes, Martha, why don't you tell me more about this?
Well, I used to be able to see the lake from any western window of my house.
And that would be above your roses. Because I'm under the impression that the fences was built right next to the rose, if not right next to it. So when you look across the roses, and if there was no fences, you can see the lake directly. Am I correct?
Yes.
So how tall are these rose bushes that I trampled supposedly?
I haven't measured them,
Oh, and George,
but I'm willing to let you keep the fence if I can see the lake.
so George, Do you think 8 feet tall, the fence is a reasonable height for the fences, especially that's between the very close neighbors?
Uh, yeah, I think 8 feet's reasonable. I mean, a normal person can't just see right over it standing there, but it's
Not even Shaquille O'Neal can see him.
but it's not, it's not so tall like a row of trees that would like block the sunlight or anything from coming onto their property. I think that'd be different. That'd be like one of those, I forget what they're called.
So, do you think if by
And
potentially,
the fence is nice looking.
I'm sure
built
it's
it
nice,
myself.
it's very nice looking,
Yeah.
but do you think if you can achieve the same purpose by attracting more potential clients is by moving down a little bit and like Martha has the view of the lake and also you can have a better neighbor, you don't separate your neighbor out, but you also bring them closer.
It depends on how much change she's requiring of the fence. I really don't want to make any. I mean, I already spent a lot of time into this and money, and I built the boards already. They're all 8 feet long cedar boards.
Okay, so Martha, do you think they'll need the dramatic changes to the fence that so you can see the lake view?
I just want to see the lake, but I guess the alternative is that we won't settle, and I'm going to get $3,000, and he's going to have to remove the fence entirely. So I think I'm trying to be helpful here. And come on, George, you're an architect. You can figure something out so I can see the lake. Your clients will be able to see my nice rose bushes if there's no fence right there.
Do you think that would be a better combination with roses and slightly shorter fences? So both of you can see each other more often and there will be a nice combination to show your potential customers?
I just, as Martha pointed out, I'm an architect, very talented, and I think that this is definitely the best setup that I came up with. So I don't really want to make too many changes. And you know what? I don't really want, I mean, if we can't agree, like, I don't mind going to court because I'm very certain that, the fence is on my property and that it's not invading any of her space.
Okay, let's move on. Let's talk more about this fence and its whose property. And Mark, why are you so sure about that this is on your property?
Because I hired a professional surveyor who
And
said it's on my property.
who's that professional server?
Who is it?
Yes.
I don't have that record with me at the moment.
And do you remember when you were informed that the fence was on your property?
I think it was, I don't recall the exact date.
So that means you're not absolutely sure that the fence is on your property.
Well, it hasn't moved, so I'm pretty confident because the surveyor said it was on my property.
And George, you're also absolutely sure that the fence on your property, which is outside the rose bus.
I'm sure.
How are you sure, George?
I'm an architect.
Martha,
I know these things.
Martha, it comes to me that when you build, why would you build these rose buds? When you built them, when you planted them, didn't you try to serve them as a sort of fence?
No, they were more just something me and my husband enjoyed doing before he died.
And there was no fence before your husband's death.
Nope. I had a nice, clear view of the lake.
How many rose bushes do you have? I forgot,
I have not counted.
but it's a lot.
Presumably.
You don't know how tall these rose bushes are?
I don't.
Were those rose buds troubling you, George?
Oh, no. I'm just trying to see how much she's trying to get me to knock my fence down.
But you allow those rose buds there by your fences?
Excuse me?
You allowed to have those rose buds by your fences?
That's fine with me. It's on her property.
Okay.
Just like how the fence is on my property.
Okay, since you are both sure about that, this location of your fences, let's move on to the money issues here. And Martha, you mentioned that your alternative choice would be going to court, and do you know how long it would take and how much it would cost you?
No.
And assuming if you are going to court today, and do you think you can wait for that, maybe a certain amount of time, maybe a few weeks, and spend quite an amount of money on this issue, and you might not even get back to the good old relationship with George?
Yes.
And
I would like to settle things now if we can.
of course, and George, we are aware of the cost and potential time cost if you go to court today.
Yes, I suppose.
Will you elaborate that?
Well, it's gonna cost me some money.
$3,000.
We'll see about that.
And do you know how long it would take, and what if the sentence came down and it says that you have to remove your fences and give you no chance to just modify it? Do you think that would be a possible outcome?
I'm willing to take that risk, because I'm very certain that the fence is on my property.
Okay. But you would like to settle today if there's a possible solution that would satisfy both of your needs here. And as I can tell, that your need is to get potential clients, and you would like to show your best works. And Martha, your needs would be to see the lake view, and you would even forgive those trembling rosebuds. We can still see the lake view. Am I correct?
Yes. If he doesn't do it again.
Okay, so the situation sounds pretty similar here, very easy here. Like, George, you're potentially if you slightly modify the fence right now, and you can save all those costs of going to court and wasting all the time going in court arguing, and it seems to me this is the best outcome for you right now, and both for Martha, and you can also restore to the old relationship and good friends.
I'll do some minor modifications, but I mean, like, this is like my baby, you know, so I don't want to like scrap the whole thing, or like cut it in half, or like make it 4 feet tall, or like, that's just too much. So that's why, you know, I mean, I probably should have checked with Martha first about, you know, the fence before I started, but, you know, I was pretty sure it's on my property. She was really depressed at the time. I just didn't really want to, you know, have any more FaceTime with her than necessary. So, but I mean, I can do some minor modifications, like if it'll help you to see the lake in some way.
So Martha,
Go ahead. Oh, sorry. So, I mean, it just depends on what kind of things would help her to see the lake that wouldn't be so much of a burden on me.
yes, and Martha, I'm sure you understand that the fans are like George's babies, and he value them just as you value your roses. So do you think there's any small modification that George can make and also help you see the lake?
Well, for me, I guess either I can see the lake or I can't. If there's a very minor modification he can make so I can see the lake, then I'm fine with that. But if he makes a major modification and I still can't see the lake, then that's a problem for me.
So George, and you said that you're a very talented architect. Do you think it's possible for you just to make modifications within the cost you can assume, but also make like Martha see the lake? Is there any possible solutions here?
I'd have to go into her house and look through those west-facing windows. And
Maybe you
see.
can just move the fence a little. Like put it on the other side of your house.
It seems to me that, George, that the fence is between two houses. So do you think by putting the fence in between the houses that would actually get the the adequate exposure to the passengers or these other neighbors or potential clients if you can put it in a more obvious place?
I think moving it to the other side might just take away from all the value of this whole thing that I'm planning. As I mentioned, I have like the garden and goldfish ponds and everything that I'd like to put, in that area.
Okay, so why don't we potentially like to visit Martha and see from her window on the west side and see if there's any possible modifications that you can make to make sure Martha can have the lake view and it doesn't cost too much.
Okay, I mean, I'll do that. But what happens if I go over there and I find out that the only way she can see the lake is if there's a huge modification that I need to make to the fence?
Thank you, Martha. From your best memory, what kind of modification do you need to see the lake?
Well, I'm not certain. I would have to take measurements, but I know that my rose bushes didn't block it, and they were, a couple of feet tall, so.
Pretty short.
So it seems to me that you, George, you potentially need to move down the fence just for a couple of feet. Do you think that's a modification you can make?
Knock down to, so it's not 8 feet high, you mean?
Yes.
Like 6?
You think 6 would be enough?
I don't think so.
Wow.
How tall was your rose, Martha?
I would guess maybe 4 feet.
4 feet, and you still have plenty view of lakes over the roses.
Mm-hmm.
So even though the fence would just be a little bit over the rose, you can still have the lake view.
No. If it's 8 feet high, it's gonna block my view. It's gonna be an eyesore.
If it's slightly higher than the rose's height, that would still give you the room to see the lake view.
Well, if it was slightly higher,
Slightly higher,
if it was like 4.5 feet, that would be okay, probably.
George.
How much of this lake do you want to see? Do you have to see the whole lake?
Yes, George.
Oh,
Do you think that's a possible modification you can make?
4.5 feet?
Yes.
Look, George,
I don't think
I'm
so.
an elderly widow. I probably won't be around much longer. Once I am gone, you can make it taller again. But have some sympathy for a poor old maid.
I just don't think that's, I don't think that's too big of a change. And this is my property. I mean, we can get another surveyor. I'm willing to do that too. We can each we can have a few surveyors and get their opinions to see whose property it's on.
It's already been done.
Well, a second opinion never hurt anyone.
So if you go to court, do you think the first opinion would be matters the most and potentially works not in your favor?
No,
And-
not necessarily.
And say let's discuss about the alternative choices here. If say going to court
Okay.
and the court rules in Martha's favor and you have to reimburse Martha $3,000, do you think that's a cost you would incur just by making the fences shorter as Martha requested? Would you know how much of the cost would be?
I'm not too sure. But I just don't think I'm going to lose that if we go to court.
Yeah, let's assume if it did happen, or if it does happen, and what's the potential cost for you to move away the fence and also reimburse Martha $3,000?
Potential cost to move away the fence? I don't know, maybe like $1,000.
$1,000?
But who's to say that I wouldn't move it to the other side and that neighbor starts complaining? I don't even have a good relationship with them. They might complain too. then
Yeah.
I'm just never gonna build the fence.
I think our prerequisite is that the fence was built on mother's property, and
What if we moved it like, if we moved it slightly, is it gonna help your view?
It might.
Martha, would you tell more what kind of move you need to see except by cutting shorter?
Well, I'm not sure. We could take a look. Maybe if, yeah, I don't know.
Well, if we move it farther away from your house and even more on my property than it already is, then it should get smaller, right? So it should help you to see the lake, I suppose. Do you
That's probably true.
I might be able to move it a couple feet if that'll help. And then maybe, but I mean, I can't make it 4.5 feet, you know? Like, by minor modification, I was thinking like at most like 7 feet tall or something like that.
Okay, so
But that might help. That might be enough. I'm not sure, you know, how much of the lake that she's missing right now.
in Mother, seems that you really value the lake view even more than the roses and $3,000 you're asking. So let's say if you go to court and you win, and George can simply rebuild a fence just a couple of feet away from your property, and that will still block your lake view. And do you think that's the outcome you would like to see?
No. I mean, I want to be able to see the lake.
What's so great about the lake? It's small.
I just really enjoy looking at it. I mean, if we can find a way to move it a few feet where I can see the lake, I'm fine.
So George, do you think maybe after you actually look at the situation and from Martha's house, do you think you can make potential modification or move away for a couple of feet so Martha can see the lake and both of you can save the trouble of going to court and make another movement after the court decision?
I mean, I'm willing to try. I'll be willing to maybe move it a couple feet, maybe knock it down to 7 feet, and see if that helps or not. But if not, I mean, I'm not gonna do anything more than that. It's already on my property. Then I think we're gonna be back. Like, I'll see you in court in like a couple months again, or back here, and we'll figure something else out. But I feel like I'm already, you know, I'm trying to work with you a little bit on this.
And Martha, maybe after the George's modification, you can see part of the lake, and do you think that will be enough? I think that's the George has been making a lot of taking a lot of steps back, and do you think you can also take a step back?
Well, I don't know how much he's done really. He said he would make it a foot shorter, so it still completely blocks my view, it sounds. And maybe all he said is he would take it off my property, which he shouldn't have done in the first place.
But you still value the lake view as the most important.
If I'm maybe me and George can take a look and try and figure something out in person.
Okay. So both of you agree that if there is any potential modification that you can make to allow Martha see the lakes and also within George's budget. Do you have a budget here? Well, how much can you actually spend on the modification?
I'm not sure. I mean, I have it budgeted out. I just don't have the numbers here. So I've already spent like $1,000 I put into it already.
Okay.
Building the cedar boards and hiring the workers.
taking a saw and cutting the boards is almost free.
Jude, I think I would like to talk to you privately for a moment. And Martha, would you please step out for a second?
I have to leave?
No, we just need private conversation here.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so George, what's your best outcome here? If you win and if you lose, let's assume he's out of the room. So
That's outcome.
so let's see. What if you win? What do you get?
Well, I get to put up the fence the way that I wanted to.
And also you might lose the relationship with Martha, and you won't be able to see a nice neighbor.
I was more like friends with the husband. I mean, with her husband. Like, I wasn't like buddy with her, you know? So, I mean, I feel bad about, you know, I probably should have checked with her first, but, I mean, I'm very certain that I have the right to build this fence. It's on my property. This is just what I've wanted to do for a long time. You know,
Okay. And what if you lose?
in court?
Yes.
Oh. Well, I don't think I'm gonna lose.
Let's say sometimes courts rules not in your favor and the worst outcome.
So what if I lose? What are they gonna tell me? I can't build the fence at all?
Yeah, probably
No fence.
ask you to remove the fence, also pay for the roses.
Oh. Well, if the workers really trampled the roses, I can pay her for the roses. That's okay.
Do you know how much that would be?
No. But I don't know what the 3,000's for either.
Okay.
I assume that's included in that.
Mm. So you're saying you are willing to pay the roses, and that's you have no burden on the financial side, and you can afford the $3,000 if see the court asks you to pay for that amount, and then you will also have to move the fences, and there's no burden financially.
Financially, not really.
Okay.
It's just that I've spent money on this project already and I want to get it done the way
Okay.
that I envisioned at the beginning.
Okay. And do you think by putting the fence there you can attract a lot of potential clients?
Yeah.
Have you attracted any clients before?
No. Well, yeah, I mean, I have clients, but this is just, you know, to
Okay.
attract more clients.
And just between me and between us, and how much of modification can actually go down to?
I really thought that I gave it out, like, I don't know, 7 feet,
Okay.
like, what did you say, 4.5 feet? That's ridiculous. That's like no fence.
Okay.
Then I bet might as well not build the fence.
Okay.
So I thought something like 7 feet, maybe move it over a couple feet farther from our house.
Okay.
You know, a few feet, like, I don't know, maybe up to
Okay.
6, maybe even up to like 6 feet and move it over. But in
Okay.
terms of the height, like, that's kind of gonna ruin my whole
So-
theme that I got going, you know?
Okay. So it sounds to me that, let me make a brief summary. You're willing to pay any possible costs, even in full, 3,000, and move the fences away if you lose. And if you win, you are even willing to sacrifice the relationship you have built with your neighbor over the years. Is that correct?
Well, it depends on if, I mean, she's a nice person, but she's just been crazy recently. So like, if she's still gonna be crazy, then I don't care about the relationship.
What if, I mean, I assume she will become to the old friend you had after those, and
Yeah, and that'd be nice. Yeah, if we can resolve it that way. But I think that she's crazy because her husband just died. So resolving the fence issue isn't, not necessarily gonna be like, oh, she's gonna be all happy and nice again.
maybe she was mourning because of her husband's death, and after she can see the lake again. That may help her to.
That's true. Yeah.
So,
I hope so. I mean, I hope so. She was much more enjoyable before.
so still
And
like
I'd
you
be
like
more willing to help out. Sure.
you would still like her to see the lake views.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, but not to the extent that I'd have to basically not build the fence.
Okay. Okay, so you're still only willing to move down to 7 feet and maybe move a little few feet further into your closer to your house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you want to remain those information confidential, or do you think I can let part of this information, like Martha, know?
I didn't even tell her that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
Tell her that and get me a counter offer.
how about talk to Martha about this, and we'll ask you to step out in the room for a while.
Okay.
I'll be back in a minute.
Okay. You better do good.
I'm still not presenting for you.
Oh.
I'm just mediator.
Okay.
So Martha, let's hear. See if you go to court and you loses, what's the possible outcome for you?
I'll get stuck with the fence.
And you probably will lose any possible help from George.
Yes, I suppose.
It seems to me that you both of you value this relationship very much, and George has said that he understands that your husband's death has put a lot of pressure on you, and he would like you to be happy if you can reach the lake. And let's see, even if you win these cases, and George can still rebuild the fence. Let's see, on his property, just a couple of feet closer to his house, and it might still block your view. So, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I suppose that wouldn't help me very much.
So, what's the best outcome for you? And without George cutting his fences into half of the height.
Well, the more he reduces it, the better. Maybe he could move it so I can see more.
Do you only have to see stay in your house, or are you willing to just to see somewhere else and still see the lake? And do you think by seeing the lake would help you restore to the relationship that you had with George?
Yes, that would help.
Okay, and George has made it clear that he can move the fence down to 7 feet and maybe move a few feet closer to his house, and that's possible the best situation can get. Even if you win, that's the easy if you don't care about the money and roses. So, do you think after you incur the cost of going to court and wasting the time and losing the relationship between you two, do you think that's the best outcome you would have?
I think maybe the best outcome would be for me and George to go back to the property and take some measurements and see, he's an architect, so maybe he'll be able to figure out a way to make it so I can see the lake better.
Okay. And as for the roses, what's the amount of money you come up with? How did you come with the $3,000?
$3,000 was just because the court clerk told me that was the most I could get in this court.
The most you can get?
Yeah, I was just upset, so I wanted to get as much as I could.
Do you know the average cost you can get? So this is just a potential you can get $3,000.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't necessarily mean you can get $3,000.
No, and the money's not very important to me.
Okay. So, all right, let's bring back to the table. So, George and Martha, and I've talked to you both privately, and it seems that to me that both of you, the money is not the issue, and really important is the Martha would like to see the lake, and also both of you value your relationship. You would like to go back to the old relationship you had before Martha's husband's death. So, seems to me that George, if you are a very talented architect, you can make possible modifications after the measurements. You probably can work something out to like Martha see the lake. And so right now here, when we set up agreement that after the proper measurement, that George can make the modifications within your possible range and to make Martha, to let Martha have the view of the lake.
Okay.
And once,
I mean, we'll try. I'll try it.
and Martha, would you think that would be a possible solution right now?
Yes, I would like to try that.
Okay, so after George, after you make possible modification, Martha is satisfied and she can have the view of the lake, and Martha would like to waive this 3,000 reimbursement and settle this case. If you can see the lake,
Mm-hmm.
and after proper measurement, and if they cannot see the lake, and what would happen?
Well, I hope we can work something out, but if I can't, then I guess I might have to come back here. But I think George will be able to figure something out.
Okay, George Martha's confident in you, so hopefully we, after proper measurement, we can work something out, or else we have to go all over this again and possibly go to the court. And do you think that's a settlement you can make right now? After proper measurement, and if Martha can see the lake, and both of the cases can be settled, and if she cannot see the lake and she's not satisfied, then we'll go to the court.
Okay. Sure, I'm good with that. I'll do my best. As I said, like I'm 7 feet. I'll move it, you know, maybe up to 6 feet away, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so
I might be able to make some other modifications as I see it, but I'm not sure right now. So.
Okay, so at least we agreed on that there will be efforts made on to make you sure that you can see the lake, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so if you understand what you're saying here, and as I have listed here, and just sign the paper saying that you reached an agreement to potentially modify this fences after measurements. Okay, great. All right. Is there anything I haven't asked in your information? Did I cover all of the part?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Oh, it's longer than I thought. I hope I didn't
Oh.
keep you too late.
That's okay. You said an hour.